everyone. Welcome to The Atman Show, and I have a very special guest, Meghna. She's actually an eye
Hello.
doctor. She lives in Texas, and she's a enthusiast on Hindu culture. So go ahead and give a brief introduction about yourself and the topic, and then we can go ahead and begin our question answer session. Go ahead, Meghna.
Okay. I am Meghna Lilaram. I was born here in Arlington, Texas. So I'm a first generation immigrants, child. And I grew up with the Hindu culture. Back when I was growing up in North Texas, there wasn't really a big Indian community. So my dad in our, younger years would, teach me, my brother, my cousins, just a little bit about like the Bhagavad Gita, Hinduism, things of that nature, Ramayana, all of those things. And then finally, the DFW Hindu Temple came into existence, and then we were able to, have a more diverse community that wasn't just, the few people in our family. So, it's something that I was brought up with. When I went to college, we had our own community. When I went to optometry school, I would find the temple and people that were like-minded that I could discuss these things with. It sometimes has been a lonely spiritual journey, as everyone does things a little bit different, but I still try to keep those principles and values as best as I can. Being an immigrant's kid, it's always a conflicting culture with like the American side and then like the Indian side, and trying to blend that with your religion. So it's a unique perspective, and it has nothing to do with my parents not raising me right, but it's just trying to blend cultures, and now being a parent, trying to teach my kids the best of what I learned from my parents.
All right. So, Meghna came up with an interesting topic. So, Meghna, can you briefly tell us about the topic before we begin our question answer session?
Well, now these youngins, and I'm not young anymore, they love celebrities, and like they do, look to people that are in the spotlight. And when they see that they can kind of like understand what they're going through and have that spiritual religious experience, and see how that embodies their day-to-day being and how it makes such an impact in their life, I thought like maybe we can discuss people that we know that are, famous or have been famous for a bit, and how they explore, their life and use Hinduism and those pillars to make themselves better in their spiritual journey.
Okay. So, I know Madonna is a very renowned singer. Everyone knows it about her. But could you please go ahead and talk about Madonna and how did Hinduism inspired her?
So she, from what I know, she grew up with a really strict Catholic father. And, she went through her whole thing. I think in the VMAs in like 98 or something, they were kind of like upset about like her using some stuff on her face. And how they felt it was disrespected, because her music's a little racy, but she really has used yoga and some traditions with Hinduism to make her character unique. Now, she doesn't like say that she's Hindu, but I do like that she does follows the values as far as, the peace and the spiritualism and the yoga practice to, make her more mindful in her journey.
Okay. So, why is Robert Downey so famous? What are his views on Hinduism? How do we know him? Like, what are the things that he did?
So he's this great actor, and unfortunately, in his younger years, he had a battle with alcoholism. But then he did, reach sobriety, and through that journey, he discovered, Krishna and the Hare Krishna movement, and that became a big part of his spiritual journey to enlighten himself. And increase his, spiritual aspect with Hinduism.
Okay. Who is Huge Jackman and how did he encounter Hinduism?
So at least for me, my generation, we know Hugh Jackman.
When you die, Hugh, do you think? I've just been reading about it this morning. Oh, somebody knows? Somebody wrote a book about it? Yeah, it's called the Bhagavad Gita. And I was just reading it today. And I remember reading this thing, and it tells you what to do at that moment of death. And
As like Wolverine and the X-Men, and he's been in some other musical type of like movies, and he's this famous Australian, I believe, actor. And he is a big follower. He's now converted to Judaism, but he did follow and well rooted into Hinduism insofar as his knowledge of the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita. He's also a huge um, follower of the International Society of Krishna Conscience, which is basically the Hare Krishna movement. And it's really cool to see that, because if you see his character and you watch him when he interviews, he has that enlightenment that you can see. And perhaps he didn't get that from all the knowledge that he learned with his spiritualism.
Okay, thank you. Uh, what is the relationship between Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs, and Hinduism? I remember that they all went to India to meet, I think, Neem Karoli Baba, and then he
He
encountered
did.
success. So, can you a little bit talk about that story?
So in like the 70s, I know Steve Jobs and his friend were trying to go on that pilgrimage to go do that. But I think he passed, but they were still able to visit the ashram, and they did see his teachings and like all of the things that, he taught and he learned. And it's great because Neem Karoli Baba was known as this great unifier. And he was considering all humans as equal, religions, caste, creed, every aspect is equal. And he wanted to, find God in everyone around us. Steve Jobs and his buddy were looking into that enlightenment and following this doctrine. So it's really cool that when him and Dan Cote, I think is how you said his name, they weren't able to meet him because he had died the previous September, but they were able to, go experience.
People wanted to buy Facebook and thought we should sell the company. I went and I saw one of my mentors, Steve Jobs, and he told me that in order to reconnect with what I believed as the mission of the company, I should visit this temple that he had gone to in India early on in his evolution of thinking about what he wanted Apple and his vision of the future to be. And so I went and I traveled for almost a month, and seeing the people, seeing how people connected, and having the opportunity to feel how much better the world could be if everyone had a stronger ability to connect, reinforced for me the importance of what we were doing. And that is something that I've always remembered over the last 10 years as we built Facebook.
And Steve Jobs actually recommended the Mysore Palace to Mark Zuckerberg in India as a source of inspiration and creativity. And it also, like, inspired Zuckerberg to follow Neem Karoli Baba and all his teachings. And he himself, Mark Zuckerberg, visited Steve Jobs like around 2011. Jobs did tell him to go visit the ashram. So he did in 2012, Zuckerberg visit the ashram. He visited, I think it's Kanichi Dham, and he spent time there at the ashram, and he met disciples there, and he became more familiar with those teachings.
So, what was his experience when he came back?
I feel like he was just in generally more enlightened, and he used those in all of his, things that he developed after, like with his Facebook and his empire and everything that he built. I feel like it really made a big impact on how he really reacted and moved forward.
Thank you. Who is Claudia Cheslaw? What is her relationship with Hinduism?
So she actually, she's European, and she was like on all of these like reality shows on Indian TV, late 2000s, early 2010s. She worked with people like Amitabh Bachchan, and she was on all these other shows, Koshal Punjabi, and she even was in a song for with Akshay Kumar and Koladi 786. The song was composed by Himesh Reshammiya, and she also was in some movies in 2016. But she's a nutritional and lifestyle coach, and she used the principles of Hinduism through that. She planned to convert to Hinduism, but she also embraced all the principles of it. And she really truly followed and believed in karma, which was very cool to see someone in, an Eastern European uprooting to have the knowledge and the ability to practice those principles.
All right. Thank you. Julia Roberts, we all know about Pretty Woman. How
Yes.
did she encounter Hinduism?
So she also, interesting enough, she saw like a picture of Hanuman, and then saw like Neem Karoli Baba, who we talked about earlier. And
I practice at a lot of things. Hinduism is something that I'm very intrigued by and very interested in.
Where did it come from? Where did the interest come from?
It came from seeing a picture of a guru called Neem Karoli Baba, and I was so drawn to the picture of this person, and I didn't know who he was or what he was about, but felt a very strong interest.
Did you ever meet the man?
No, he passed long before I saw his picture, but just very intriguing, and that's the way things come into our lives.
Tell me about it.
And she went when she went with her family. They went to a temple, they went to chant and pray, and then she just announced, like, I'm Hindu. And it's cool because she has no intention of demeaning any other religion because of her fondness for Hinduism. So she was having this really large spiritual satisfaction with being Hindu, and I thought that was just so unique. She just practices those principles and embodies them in her spirit. When she did Eat, Pray, Love, I do believe part of that also helped with her spiritual enlightenment.
Okay. Let's move on to who's Kelly Williams and what is her journey into Hinduism?
So, her last thing I think she was popular for was like Army Wives.
Same way we always do, together.
She's in a bunch of other things, but she married Ajay Sagal and they had 3 kids. While they were together until I think like 2007 to 2017, they were together for that period of time. But in that time, she really developed the fondness and she changed, her beliefs to being Hindu and saw all things that were relevant to her life and put those principles in play. And, her children have Hindu names and she raised them and uprooted them that way as well.
All right. Miley Cyrus, we all know.
We do.
So, what is her relationship with Hindu festivals and things like that?
So she's wild. So she's the last person you would think would like experience Hinduism, right? Because she's, you can't put your finger on her because she is all over the place. But the cool thing about her, like I remember when Super Bowl, she posted a picture like a flower bowl is cooler than a Super Bowl. And
Yeah.
she was doing like a Lakshmi Puja, and she does these things often. She has all of these spiritual things that show in her Instagram and in her home and in all of her social media that she presents that she does follow Hinduism. She puts those in place, but she's a huge, huge, huge follower of Lakshmi Puja, which is very cool that she understands the belief and the reasoning behind bringing Goddess Lakshmi in the home.
Okay. All right. So, yeah.
Maybe that's why she has all that prosperity, right? She's bringing it in because she's doing the puja the right way. Maybe we all need to do a little more Lakshmi puja, right?
We all need wealth.
Yes.
That's awesome. Okay, so last one on the list is Sylvester Stallone.
Of alleged drug abuse in 2012. Reportedly, Sylvester had talked to a Vedic scholar from Rishikesh that he still sees sage, to which he was advised to perform the Hindu ritual so that he can find some peace. Sage was found dead in his apartment in Los Angeles in 2012. He was 36 years old then. Since then, Sylvester confessed that he had seen his dead son and was very disturbed. Stallone sent his half-brother Michael, his wife, and two others to Kankhal, Haridwar to perform Tithi Shraddh done for those who die of accident or murder. Shared screen space with his son Sage during his teenage in the fifth version of the Rocky series.
His belief in Hinduism strengthened after his son's death. It seems like he used to be haunted by his son's spirit, and then when he went to India, to Kashi, he did Pindadan, and then he stopped seeing
Yes.
his son's spirit, and that's when he converted to Hinduism. What is your take on that and on this story?
So it's cool because that time just passed for us where we remember our ancestors, Shraddh, that period. It's right after all the Ganesh celebrations.
Yeah.
And I think it's cool because he actually performed that puja. And you're embracing your ancestors, the ones, the beloved ones who's passed away. And by doing that with his son, I feel that gave him some peace and relief, but he was also able to let go. And doing so, I feel he kept all of the traditions from that, and being using those Hindu principles helped him move forward in life. And you look at him now, like he's been in some crazy stuff. Like, I don't know if you've heard about, like, when he first started in the film industry, he had a dog and he was homeless. He had to sell his dog to get money so he can do auditions. He bought that dog back. He's gone through a lot in life. He has beautiful girls, but of course his son's death haunted him, but he was able to put that past him and still have these great you know accomplishments after. And I think it's just a testament to our religion and the spirituality that you can get from following the principles, and how beautiful life can become if you really truly dive deep down in them and understand what is being said.
All right. Thank you, Meghna. That's
Thank you.
a very informative session. Do you have anything to say to my viewers of The Atman Show?
Thank you guys for giving me a stage and a presence to speak. And I know this is, a fun topic to talk about celebrities that are in America and, abroad, and about how they use their principles of Hinduism to flourish in their life. Maybe we wouldn't think of this topic, but I just thought we'd do something unique and put a spin on things. But, there is a way, there's so much ugliness going on in the world right now. I truly feel if we go back to the root and go back to the source and see the beauty that Hinduism has to offer, it just gives a little piece to all of the craziness and the storms that are happening right now.
Yeah, especially like, you have so much of ego, anger, hatred, jealousy.
Yes,
So I think this philosophy can put a stop on this. What do you have to
for
say on that?
sure. You know, I don't know if you've seen the movie RRR.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And do you remember when the hot cop, I forget his name, but he's like in jail and the British are there and he's getting like all beat up and stuff. And he says a scripture from the Bhagavad Gita, the Karma Navadika Reste. And it's like, dang, like that is like incredible. Like, I guess for me, like it's a great use of something that we strongly believe in, but to also show like that's how our destiny is. And I feel like if you truly dig down and look at like the roots of what the scriptures have to say, you can find so much beauty in them and you can apply them to your life. It can make things just that much easier.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you. Namaste, G. You
Bye.
take care.
Yes.
All right, bye.